Felicia
From the
Michaels,
moment
my
you hear his
princess,
voice, you
has
know
been
there are
entertaining
gonna be
audiences
problems.
with a unique
Joey
style
Coco Diaz has
of
been rocking
provocative humor
comedy
since the
stages for
90s, all right?
15 years.
With her
You've seen him in
tongue-in-cheek,
films and
she's been
television,
exploring
but
such
his
topics
real
as
patois, as
dynamics
his
of the
fond of saying,
male-female
are the
relationships,
stories from
or
his
as we call
past
them here in
and
the
his
studio,
chaotic
dirty
views on
thoughts,
life that will make
and
this
the
podcast
proliferation
a different
of the
beast.
sensual
Raw
feminist.
pain and
She's a little
passion is how to
firecracker
really
rolled up, and that's why I
describe
love
this
her, and that's why you're going to
Cuban-born
love listening. So
New
tune in,
Jersey
all right?
animal.
Welcome to another fun-filled episode of
Beauty and the Beast.
Felicia Michaels.
Joey Diaz.
We're back, bitches. Another fun-filled day. It's raining here in Los Angeles
It's
today.
raining. You're all cozy in your vest.
Oh,
and your
it's cold
hat.
out.
You look like an ice road trucker.
That's
I just
right,
Pull
baby.
you over on an ice sheet and warm up your. All right, maybe I don't want to do that.
You don't want to do nothing. We're here, man. It's another great week, you know.
Yeah.
We got a good response from the last podcast talking
The
about
last podcast was my favorite podcast.
Was a lot of fun.
Episode 10.
10. Yeah, so we're getting somewhere. We got a lot of great emails.
Yes.
My man, Old Boys, whatever, Ollie Boys from Australia sent us some Bruce Lee videos.
Those videos were awesome.
He's fucking crazy. He's crazy.
I put the video on my Facebook. It's Bruce Lee playing ping pong with the nunchucks, and everyone loved it. And then some guy came on and said that it wasn't real, that someone had made that fake video. Is it real?
Like a game of death video type deal.
But is it real that he played really ping pong?
You know,
with
I
the
didn't watch
nunchucks,
that
or?
video. I watched the other two that Ollie Boy sent me, the one where Bruce Lee says motherfucker under his breath in Chinese Connection. I want to know how he's Australian. How did he know that the guy was saying motherfucker under his breath? I didn't.
I guess we have educated listeners out there.
But it's really weird because I got a lot of emails. I got one guy said that I was not good enough to suck Bruce Lee's dick, and
Oh, I emailed that guy back. I said, hey, we might not be good enough to suck Bruce Lee's dick, but I'm sure he'd let us tickle his taint. I'm sure he would.
and it's weird when you get to Bruce Lee. Like, for some people, Bruce Lee was just a movie guy. Like, oh, people went to see him. For me, he was everything at that time because I grew up with Bruce Lee. I still remember being in the 4th grade and sitting around. I was at Sacred Heart School for Boys. We had just taken a shower, and we would sit around and watch Happy Days. Happy Days would just come on, and we would sit around like from 8 to 10 and watch television. And I still remember Bruce Lee coming out for the commercial for the Chinese Connection and him doing all these moves and me losing my mind and my parents picking me up on Thursday night and going, so this weekend we're going to the carnival and Saturday you're going to see your aunt. And I'm like, we're going to start the weekend off with fucking Bruce Lee. Cancel all that. And it's just really weird that for some people, like I said, he's just an actor. For other people, he opened up a lot of doors. I was pretty fortunate in '95 to go to his grave.
Where is
in
his
Seattle.
grave? In Seattle.
He was buried in the same cemetery as Jimi Hendrix. But then they moved Jimi Hendrix out because somebody had broken into his casket and they got too much traffic with Bruce Lee. So it was funny when I went to the Bruce Lee thing. I forget the name of the hill, where you're up in Seattle and you go to this hill and you pull over and people come right up to you and go, "Oh, you're looking for Bruce Lee's cemetery."
Oh yeah.
It's pretty. And when you get out of your car and you walk up to his cemetery, there's fucking letters everywhere on the floor. Like people write these letters, and you pick them up and you read these letters, and they're from all over the world. People had just been there that week or that day, and they write all these letters. Thank you because of you. I got into martial arts, and I did this and this and this. But it's weird. Last week I had my buddy Jerry Roca, a great comedian, over for lunch.
Jerry's an awesome guy.
And he's a TV comic book nerd, and he's seen that I had it, and he goes, let's watch it. So what I did was I just fast-forwarded him and gave him liner notes on the movie. And I showed him the scene when he goes, the movie's about, he comes back from something and his teacher's dead. Blah. And he avenges his teacher.
Right.
Blah, that's it. But what nobody knew at the time was that Bruce Lee was very tight with Steve McQueen. And they both wanted what each other had. Bruce Lee didn't want to be he wanted to be an international movie star. And Steve McQueen didn't want to act. He wanted to be a fucking tough guy. So it was two lost souls who were living through each other. And Steve McQueen would take him into the Hollywood Hills and drive with him, doing 90 miles an hour up Mulholland and shit. And Bruce Lee would be scared of driving. It was just an amazing relationship. And then Bruce Lee got robbed from Kung Fu. They stole the idea from him. And Raymond Chow approached him. And Raymond Chow said, do movies in China, wherever they did them. They did them like in the Philippines or Thailand, these low-rent movies that made fucking billions. Fist of Fury was the first one, which was really a Chinese Connection, but they changed the name in America.
Right.
Then Fist of Fury was the name of Chinese Connection in China, but when it came to America, it was a Chinese Connection. And like I said, in that movie, he goes and he avenges his teacher. But the way he does it, Felicia, he kills people and he hangs them for people to see him on display.
Right.
This is just crazy. He's just this ball of fucking heat in this movie. And there's one last scene where people always say, well, Enter the Dragon's his best fight scene. You better think twice before you say that. It's his best choreographed fight scene. But in Chinese Connection at the end, when he goes to the Japanese school and he tells him this line, he goes, this does not concern you. I'm allowing you to leave. It's like me coming to your house and going, listen, motherfucker, I'm allowing you to leave. And he throws a beating on this little kung fu school, for a little karate school, like 8 Japanese guys.
Right.
Then he steps out into the hallway and he fights these other 2 guys. Then he fights another 5 Chinese guys. Then he fights a Russian. Then he goes after the king Japanese guy. And the guy tries to kill him with a sword, and Bruce Lee has the nunchucks. And then he goes back to the school and he turns himself in. And at the end, this is what really gets you, that he makes the cops promise him that if he turns himself in for the lives that he took, that you won't mess with the school no more. So it's the last scene. He's walking out and they open the doors. He's got no shirt on. He's fucking ballsy. I mean, there's one scene with the cop, the Chinese guy tells him, he promises him he won't touch him. And that's where you see his emotion. You really see this acting emotion. When he walks out, there's all these cops with guns. And instead of going back in, Bruce Lee runs at him and they shoot, and that's how the movie ends. So you never know if Bruce Lee's dead or alive. It's a mind-boggling movie, and I know that it affected me the way it affected other people because people still fucking talk about it.
Right.
I mean, it's just one of the best movies he did, and it's so weird that everybody always says, well, how did he die? You know, it was so mysterious. This is what happened. This is my take on it over the years. He was involved with this heroin deal in China. The people who were doing his movies were heroin salesmen. What people don't know is the mafia concept isn't Italian. It's Chinese. It came from China, the triads, and that's who really enforces that type of behavior. So he was there to launder money. Then America came back to him. Warner Brothers said, we want to do another movie. He came over to do Enter the Dragon, and all of a sudden he mysteriously dies. He goes to some girl's house. He ate an aspirin. His brain swelled up, and he died. 33 years old, right before the movie got released.
Yeah.
I mean, and it was just fucking amazing. I remember being a kid and seeing the casket, and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and James Coburn and Steve McQueen were all his casket guys, and you're just dying inside. Like, that's one of the first deaths that really traumatized me as a child. It was fucking that real. And then Enter the Dragon came out, and he became an international superstar. And now, you know, all this MMA and stuff, to me, nothing would have came to fruition if it wasn't for him, because that's what he did. Plus, he gave people a belief system, you know?
No, like I saw an interview because when that gentleman sent us the link, and I went to the link with the ping pong with the nunchucks, which is maybe fake, I don't know, and then I saw another link when I was looking at it on YouTube where he was giving an interview, and he was talking about how when you're doing everything in life, you gotta be like water.
Water, soft and flow.
And flowing, and if you know what happens with water, when you pour it in a glass, it becomes a glass. When you pour it in a tea kettle, it becomes a tea kettle. I mean, it was intense. I was like, oh shit, this is awesome.
This guy was very spiritual. A lot of people don't know he was Abiku.
What's that?
Abiku is something that it's really big in an African religion, the Spanish religion, is when you were going to have a child, and the child is lost in childbirth or in death when he's 1 or 2 or 3. And people believe, there's a belief system. Elvis was Abiku. He had a brother that died. Bruce Lee was Abiku. I'm an Abiku. It's when somebody is born and they die, and you come afterward, and they say that your presence was so strong that you took that life. You needed that life to live. It's a very weird thing. And if you watch the beginning of The Dragon, his father was very superstitious. And his father tells him that when he was a kid, they used to dress him up as girls because the spirit wouldn't come from, it would confuse the spirit. Abiku will always come back and get you unless you do something. And some religions, some cultures know what to do. Even when a woman has a lot of miscarriages, that means she's Abiku. That's an African word that means that there's something not right, that you have to come to terms with something. You have to pay a debt from your previous life or something. Bruce Lee was Abiku. Elvis was Abiku. They all die. Their head gets too, their strength is just too much. They can't live.
Wow.
And it's really weird. I didn't know that till I was about 10 about me, that when I was born, my father died.
Right.
And then they said that my mother would die. My mother died when she was 14. That I wasn't.
When you were 14.
When I was 14. It's really weird that when you're Abiku, you have a lot of death around you because for you to live, you have to take other lives.
Wow.
And they said that you would never take your mother because she gave you life. So you take somebody else. So that's one thing about Bruce Lee, that he knew this. He knew this. And if you read deep in his books and Enter the Dragon, it started coming back to him. he was blacking out a lot. He was lost. He wasn't connected, and then doom, he died.
Right.
That's what a lot of people don't know. So it's a very interesting story.
That's
Then they
intense.
killed his fucking son. His son
Really,
died.
though? But that was an accident.
But his son died.
Right.
His son died. I mean, what the fuck? They didn't leave no lineage for him to move forward.
Yeah.
Because that's what they say. When you're an Abi Cool, you have to leave some type of lineage. Elvis didn't have no boys either.
Yeah.
You don't leave any lineage because you didn't come to terms
You don't
with
think
that.
girls are lineage?
Well, not in that sense. Not in that.
Don't make me call
Sense.
bullshit on you.
No,
Joey.
it's just really weird. I've heard of women being Abi Cool, but in this situation, a lot of people don't know that, and I just wanted to.
Right.
Everybody died around him. His wife didn't die, and the daughter
How
didn't
come
die.
when something like that happens to guys, or I be cool, or however you say it, and if you're a girl and that happens, you're just like, that's an unlucky bitch. You know what I mean?
She just had it coming to her.
I know. Why is
She
that?
broke
That's
my heart.
fucked up.
She broke my heart in the 6th grade. That dirty bitch. She had it coming to her. You know?
But if you're a guy, it's I'll be cool. I'll be cool. He's spiritual. I'll be cool.
I always stop for a good Bruce Lee movie. Like Return of the Dragon, I always stop watching. Game of Death was a movie he made in the process before he died. And he was shooting it in chunks. And when he died, the movie was just there. Like there was, so what they did
Is that
was,
with Kareem?
yeah.
Yes.
Horrible
Oh my
movie.
God, I'm like, can you believe I'm a girl?
Oh, you're a bad bitch. And what they did was they filmed around it. And since then, they've shot like 8 games of death. And it's so weird. Like one of the games of death, they took a Chinese guy and they just put Bruce Lee's face in it with an image. Like if he would move, this image would stay there. It's just fucking.
Really?
It's just fucking amazing how much money they did on Bruce Lee and how much money they made after him in legal sort of fashion. But
Right.
Bruce Lee's Bruce Lee, and I'm happy that. I don't know. I'm happy. I remember being like 12. I used to walk around with those outfits on. My mother thought.
What do you mean those outfits?
Those
are-
Chinese outfits. I
Oh,
had
yeah?
everything.
Oh, really?
I was a Catholic Santeria guy, and here I am in my room burning fucking incense and Buddha. And my mother would say, "Are you fucking serious?" And I had the shoes, and I'd be bowing to my mother. My mother was like, "Are you fucking serious? How about I stab you in the fucking neck?"
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying?
Stab you. Do some powder. Get
Yeah.
over this phase.
And then my stepdad and all his friends, like my mom's friends at the bars, always say, "Bruce Lee's a punk." They would tell me. My mother, when I was a kid, to kill me, she'd say that people were faggots. Like, she'd say Batman was a faggot. You didn't know that? And I'd cry for hours. No, Batman ain't no faggot. Yes, he is. I seen him sucking dick in New York one time with a cape on. And I would be fucking traumatized. You know what I'm saying? And then she told me, they would tell me that they beat Bruce Lee up in Cuba one time. That Bruce Lee came to Cuba and they smacked the fuck out of him on the corner. I'd be like, what the fuck are you talking about? He was talking shit in the corner.
I would have loved to have met your mother.
But this is the fucked up thing about my mother. Like, whenever I comb my hair to the side like Dick Van Dyke,
Yeah.
she would always say, "What the fuck are you?" When I was a kid, and I would comb my hair to the side, she'd go, "What are you, Rock Hudson?" And I'd say, Rock Hudson. Rock Hudson's a tough guy. And then years later, I remember putting remember in the 70s, people would wear a shirt with a scarf underneath?
Right.
I did that one day. And she's like, "What are you, Rock Hudson?" I'm like, "Rock Hudson's a man, right?" Then when I got older, one day said something to me about Rock Hudson. This was still 1979. She died in 79.
Right.
So like in 78, she said something to me about Rock Hudson. Like, "What are you, gay like Rock Hudson?" I'm like, "Ma, stop with the fucking Rock Hudson. He ain't gay." And she's like, "You're such an idiot. He's been gay for years." And she told me the story that when she was a little girl in Cuba, Rock Hudson on the weekends would fly to Cuba and fuck little boys or men. I shouldn't say little boys. He would fuck men, young guys, because he couldn't do it in the States. In the States, it wasn't like it was now that you could just be free. So for him to get his little freak on, he'd have to go to Cuba. So all these little young girls would be around like the Havana Hilton waiting to take a peek of him, and he would walk in with a guy and then disappear for the weekend. So everybody in Cuba knew he was fucking gay. And my mother told me this one morning. I'm like, "Ma, you got some pair of balls telling me that he's gay." Well, she died in 79. In 1984, he came out and said he had
Right.
AIDS. And I was like, my mom wasn't lying to me. And I asked my uncle last year, and she goes, "Oh, yeah. Rock Hudson used to be in Cuba every weekend, losing it with like a scarf on, dancing boogaloo music with guys. That
Oh,
was his thing. He could be a freak in Cuba."
You look very intellectual with your glasses on this
You like
morning.
these glasses?
I do like those glasses.
Yeah, like I told you, man, ever since I stopped doing coke 4 years ago, I don't see. When I was doing coke, forget about it. I could see through walls. I could see a
Yeah.
20 under a carpet, but now nothing. It's gone.
Nothing. You could see crumbs
Crumbs. I could
on
see
a white
ants.
on
Oh.
white carpet.
And all of a sudden, I mean, it's horrible. I have a hard time. I got to take glasses with me to places and shit. So it's just one eye. It's just the left eye. I think I used to do more lines on the left side anyway. So that's what happens. I blew out the fucking socket. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And before we go any further, I want to welcome our new sponsor.
Yes, we have a
AdamandEve.com.
sponsor, Adam and Eve Sex Toys.
.com, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I don't know what's going on with you guys. If you're looking to spice things up in the bedroom, you know what I'm saying? You've been fantasizing about knocking your lover out of the park and taking it to the next level.
Meow.
Well, I got an offer you cannot refuse. You understand me? Go to AdamandEve.com right now for a limited time. They'll give you 50% off on any item
Yes.
right there that they have. And I'll tell you what, that's not all. You're going to get 3 fucking movies. And not those movies you get in Chinatown where you see the dick and you don't see the head. These are tremendous adult DVDs for a little inspiration. And they're going to send you a little gift so sensual they can't even tell you online. So what you're going to do is go check out AdamandEve.com today for this special offer. You're going to get 50% off one item. Then you're going to get the 3 movies. And then you're going to get the free gift like lube or something like that to put on your girl's eyeballs or crazy glue for her mouth. Whatever you're into, a ball to put in her mouth. But there's a little code on the bottom upon checkout. Do me a favor. Put the name Felicia in there. Felicia, which in France means sexy like a motherfucker.
Wow.
Again, those words are Felicia. What do you think about that?
It's pretty powerful that I can get people discounts on getting off.
50% off. 50%
That's great.
off. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying?
I'm going to order stuff.
I'm telling you. And they got good stuff on there. We're going to get some samples in next week, and we'll talk about them on the air.
Yeah.
So that's how it rolls. 10 weeks in, we got a sponsor. So let's give a round of applause
Yay
to
for
Adam and Eve.
Adam and Eve, and yay for us.
That's right. So if you're a fucking freak, now you got a home. You know what I'm saying? One of the best books I've read the last 5 years is a book called Havana Nocturne. And it's a very interesting book, and it's 3 different things going on at once. It's Fidel Castro's rise to Cuba, how he got arrested in the 50s in New York and New Jersey. Then he went to Tampa, Florida, and cut a deal with Santo Trafficante. And it tells you about how he went into the mountains. And then at the same time, it tells you what's going on with the mob in Cuba. But one of the best fucking stories in that book is that they had John F. Kennedy down there when he was a senator or a governor or something like that. And Santo Trafficante was there, Sinatra was there, all these people in the same hotel.
And did he like papaya?
Oh, Kennedy fucking loved papaya. He loved papaya so much that while they were doing this political thing in Cuba, he couldn't focus. He just couldn't focus. He'd see these fucking dark-skinned women speaking Spanish, and he couldn't focus. So Santo Trafficante got the guy in the casino and goes grab Kennedy when he walks out of the room. So when Kennedy walked out of the room, they grab him. They go, bro, you should rest. Come on, we got something for you. And they took him to a room, and there was 2 chicks waiting for him. And they had a mirror. And they watched Kennedy fuck the shit. You read this chapter. He fucked the shit out of those 2 chicks like your activity partner fucked the shit out of you last week. He fucked the shit out of them. I mean, both of these guys are like in their memoirs, they were like,
notes.
we thought we were bad to the bone. Kennedy slang big dick. And then when he got out that night, they said he was a different person. And then they had a plan. They said, we should tape this guy having sex. The next time he comes down, let's tape him, and we'll hold it against him. And someday maybe it'll come to fruition. And he never came, he ended up becoming president of the United States. So they never fucking taped him having his twosome, just slinging dick. But one of the best stories, they have Sinatra down there, and he was having a threesome with 10 fucking chicks, Sinatra, and he had somebody else in the suite with him. And that morning he forgot.
Just to count.
Just to count. And that morning he forgot that girl. He was doing something for the Girl Scouts of America. They were in Cuba. So they knock on his door, and there's all these sheets around. He had to hide the girls under the couches and shit while he was giving the interview to the young girls from this. I mean, this book is amazing.
What's
Just
it
get
called
the book
again?
again, Havana Nocturne, Nocturne.
Did you know that 80% of all women have never experienced a vaginal orgasm?
Yeah, the ones that are with me.
You're bringing the curve down.
Oh, fuck yeah. Sure, it's tough to make a woman fucking come sometimes.
What? It's not that tough.
Especially if you're thinking about it.
What's so tough about it?
Because you're thinking about it instead
Well,
of
no,
just
you don't
making
even need
love
to
the
think
flow.
about it. Yeah.
I know. Well, it's pressure, especially when a chick's like talking about, oh, well, I made sex to this guy and he was such a great piece of ass. It's pressure for guys.
What pressure is there to give a girl a nice little stabbing?
Well, what if you're a preemie and you can't reach orgasm real quick and shit? It takes time. You got to work up to this fucking endurance.
Well, your tongue. You can use your tongue.
Oh, that's right. That's right, too. Oh,
Right.
yeah.
You know what I'm
I see what you're
saying?
saying.
Yeah, yeah.
So 80% of women have
80%
never...
Yeah, so that means 80% of guys aren't throwing it correctly. Am I wrong?
No, you're probably right. We don't fucking know.
All right. And also, did you know that babies, when they're in the uterus, there's been ultrasounds where babies have been caught masturbating. Yeah, in one hand, there's a baby with a penis in his hand, and in the other hand, a little baby sock to put it in.
I think just that listen, if you masturbate when you're in the fucking womb, nothing's gonna happen.
I
You know
know.
what I'm saying? What are you gonna come on your mom's fucking kidney? You know what I'm saying? What are you gonna do? I came on your kidney, mom. What the fuck?
That's so wrong.
Some great people listen to the show, and they're very involved. And some guy sent you about the sound and the volume. So if you take a look, he wants you to hit him
Yes,
back.
technically I do all the technical stuff
Yes,
here,
you
and and sometimes I just lose my shit. I don't, I forget to do stuff.
And we get excited, and I don't talk into the mic, so just bear with us.
Yeah.
This is still a great podcast. We'll take you to places you've never fucking been before. Last week, Felicia come over. We were doing some stuff on the computer. And I have a bulletin board above my computer that I look at every day. And it's the people that really helped me growing up, or the people that are in my life that I love to death, And there's one section where it's all my friends that I grew up with. And my friends growing up were very special to me because I had no family. And these guys used to take a steak from their house at dinner and give it to me or whatever. I had our buddy Lubes, a stutterer, who I love dearly, who just came out of rehab. That's the first kid I ever did blow with. And it was funny that I still talk to him. I talk to him twice a week. I talked when he was in rehab a couple weeks ago. I was on the phone with his mother for an hour and the dad for 10 minutes. I know his brothers. And there's these pictures above from a show I did. I did a benefit. And there's one group of pictures that it's four of us. And it's this kid named Steve. And he was the most decorated undercover cop in Hudson County. But he was my brother growing up, and we loved each other. And when I first started doing comedy, those guys would still, if I go back and do a show. But one particular night, we're at the stand-up in New York, and he's leaning on the bar, and you could see his badge and his gun on his pants. He was in undercover clothes, and he was with his brother. But they were so fucking coked up. They're undercover cops, and his brother was a fireman. He got thrown out. No, he was a mailman. He got thrown off the post office because he was gambling on the property, and he would just throw the mail away, the stuffers, not the mail, but the stuffers.
The stuffers.
And he'd take the mail truck and go into the city and get weed and go to OTB. It was hysterical. But you had to know Mike to know these things. And I'm looking at this wall going, there's another picture of a kid, Dee Dee, who I loved dearly growing up. I mean, me and his brother and him, from the time my mother died to 3 years later, it was amazing. Me and Dee Dee used to drink on Friday nights. We'd drink poop off vodka. And we'd take a hit of mescaline, but then we'd wait for his brother to come home at 3 from the bars because his brother would always give us a tiny little line of Coke. Just a tiny one. Guys, I don't want to get you started on this shit, but I'll give you a little line. And he would give us a little line. The brother was really good looking. He would open up his briefcase. He had this briefcase with Coke in it, and he'd have pictures from all the chicks he fucked. He'd take pictures of them. And one of us was our friend's sister. I mean, it was just a weird life. Well, Dee Dee they called him the man child because he was such a big kid at 15. And today he's gay, and I have nothing against it. He's gay, and he's got a lover, and they adopted a kid.
Awesome.
And it's so weird about that. And then the other kid I hung out with who we mugged the hooker one time, was Al Munez, who's Frankie Munez's dad from Malcolm in the Middle. And one time we were kids, we mugged the hooker in New York, brought her over to North Bergen, and then we took her into the cemetery and we burned her wig. And I remember that we burnt her wig.
Terrible.
We burnt her wig and her clothes.
That's terrible. Wigs cost a lot
it was
of
one of
money,
those. It was one of
Chili.
those hooker wigs. It
I
smelled
know,
like fucking
but
sperm
still.
and cigarettes and ash and shit. But
That's
the funny
not
thing was,
right.
she took a straight razor out, and she went to cut. We kept going, Al, drive the fucking car. Al was the driver. And I'll never forget that night. We kept going, Al, make a left. Al, go into the tunnel. And the chick the whole time kept going, Al, don't listen to these white motherfuckers. We're mugging her. We got her by the head. We're holding her. We got her for $60. I'll never forget. That was one of my worst sins ever. We got her for $60. We did a half a gram of blow between four of us. I remember sitting there, and after finishing the 2 lines a piece we did, I was 17, okay? So don't judge me for this. I was 17, you know?
That's pretty bad,
And
Joe.
we mugged her in 42nd
This
Street.
might be the worst story you're
please.
ever sharing.
Listen, when we were kids, here's the strategy. When we were kids, we were 17, 18. You go out on Friday and Saturday nights, and then at 3 o'clock when your bar closed in Jersey, you went over to the New York side, and you either went over to eat but we had one buddy who always had to get a blowjob. Always had to get a blowjob. Coco, I got to go over to the city and get my dick sucked. Roger, really? Is it that fucking necessary? It's Roger, the kid I talked about last week that his wife's got cancer now.
Oh, right.
We would go over there, every Friday and Saturday he'd get his dick sucked. And every Friday and Saturday, there'd always be a problem with Roger. We'd sit there while he would be, because I didn't want to get my dick sucked. So I'd go get a hot dog. And on the way back, I'm like, where's Roger? He's in the car.
So while he's getting his dick sucked, you're eating a hot dog?
Yeah, I would go get a hot dog or a slice of pizza. No.
Lick it a little?
Because it's right there, right before you get on Lincoln Tunnel by the Mercedes place.
Oh, okay.
It's by the Mercedes-Benz. Right before you go into the tunnel, they sell peanuts and hot dogs
Right.
and Italian ices and pizzas. Excuse me. So he goes over, and we come back, and we're like, where the fuck's Roger? And we see the car on this street with warehouses, and it's 12th Avenue. You can see Hudson River, and the car is bouncing. The car's bouncing. And all of a sudden, he comes out of the car, and he's like, get out of the car. He gives her like $50. He's like, fucking bitch didn't make me come. He goes, Coco, I got to get another blowjob. We're like, what the fuck, guy? So finally, we're like, what the fuck? You need a blowjob that bad? You know, a good blowjob. All right. So it's me, this kid Al, this kid Glenn Conti, Roger, and somebody else in the car. So it was, okay, so it's 3 in the back and 2 in the front. So it's 5 of us. So now she's in the back seat sucking his dick. We're sitting there, and all of a sudden somebody goes, wouldn't it be funny to just mug that bitch? You know what I'm saying? Like, wouldn't it be funny? And the pimp was on the block. It wasn't like the pimp that you see on TV, like, you know, all fucking with a car. It was like an old guy with a milk cart playing homeless. Like, this is the real deal. This is the real deal. This is real. And sometimes you got to go bring him the money. Like she'd say to you, you want to get your dick sucked, you got to go bring him. So Roger would have to walk down to the corner, give the guy and the guy had played it off. He fucking had the dirt around him, everything. And he was just a pimp and a lookout. So we all she's in the middle, in the back seat with Roger, sucking his dick. So I get in on one door, Glenn Conti gets in the other, and I don't know who was in the front seat, and Al Muniz is in the driving. And we're like, she's like, what the fuck's going on here? This ain't no orgy. And we're like, we're going to Jersey, bitch. And she's like, I'll cut you motherfuckers and all this shit. So now we're holding her, right? And we take her. We do not fucking make sure this story makes it. This is a good story. Make sure this story makes it to print. This is a good one. Yeah, I don't give a fuck. This happened. She's dead by now. God knows who the fucking pimp is. Who cares? You know what I'm saying? So finally we get her into the tunnel, and she's like, ow, because we're like, ow, step on it. The cops, ow. And we thought cops were following us, and a big black car with pimps in it chasing us over to the Jersey side. We get over there, so she's like, ow, pull over. You know, and we're like, fuck it, ow, keep driving, we'll piss you off. She goes into her purse, and she takes out a straight razor and goes to cut out. And I go to grab her head, and the wig falls off. That's why I was so pissed. That wig, I was going to kill that fucking wig. And I grabbed her. Thank God Glenn Conti, Stinky, grabbed her. And then we took the knife from her, and then we took over to the Jersey side by Fairview Cemetery, up by Fairview's the dry hump in New Jersey. We took her by the cemetery there, and we're like, give us your money, bitch, or we'll kill you and all this shit. We didn't beat her or nothing like that. She had like
No,
60...
you
She,
no, Joe, you
we
can't
didn't beat her.
I know, but Joe, you can't say it like that.
No, we didn't beat her or nothing
Joe,
like that.
that's terrible.
No.
No, you only took her across the fucking state line.
So what? That's
$60. You know how many blowjobs she had to get for $60?
They were like $40. She even held that on one.
Oh, that
So
she
basically-
actually got that the pimp didn't get?
And she had the $60 in her little monkey, right? And then we took it out, and then we, like, nobody wanted to touch the $60. And then we wanted to make sure she wasn't going to kill us, so we took her dress.
I agree with
And then I'll
this.
never forget, I took the wig and lit it on fire. And that was the end of that. We went to the kid's house, and half grams were 50. But this guy said it was some Peruvian flake, so he charged us 60. And I remember sitting behind the coat factory. We each got 2 lines. And then we looked at each other, and we felt...
Bruce Lee would not agree
Oh,
with
my
this
God.
fucking story,
You have
Joey.
no idea.
Bruce, this is not Taekwondo or whatever the fuck you were saying.
This is not the life of a martial artist. This is what you're trying to say. No, but I wasn't a martial artist, and I wasn't even thinking like that. I was a kid who was lost. And listen, I didn't like it either. Till this day, I've done some bad things, and that was one of the worst. Thank God we didn't stab her or shoot her or nothing like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, thank God. Right now, Felicia is holding her head. I think this is the worst story I've ever told. But it's true. I want it out there before. Now she's covering her eyes like we're playing fucking hide and go seek. I'm going to have to put the egg roll on her leg or something. You know what I'm saying? Listen to me. It wasn't... Guys at home, you know what I'm talking about.
No.
We all wanted to mug a hooker at one time or
You all
another.
wanted to snatch the wig off a hooker and take her over a state line.
It wasn't a state line. It was Jersey. There's no state line. You know what I'm saying?
Please.
We took her up there, and that was it. This was just from the time of like 1981 to 84. I hung out with this crew of kids. It was Lebrano, Glenn Conti, Roger Holloway. And I'll
It
tell
makes me nervous when you say people's last names.
And I,
just
and I
so
don't
you
care.
know.
They know I talk about them. And it's funny because let me tell you how fucking crazy we were. I come from a crazy town. There was 8 grammar schools in North Bergen. And there's a lot of crazy people. There's like an Irish neighborhood. There's like the hippies. That was 64th Street Field. That was Lincoln School. Those kids went to school with chains on and shit. They used to go to basketball games locked up like roots. Then they let them out at the games. It was just tied up to sinks and shit. They were crazy at Lincoln School. No, dog, I come from North Bergen, New Jersey. This ain't no fucking joke here. So, and it was just shit like that we did. You know, that was one of the stories. It wasn't. I guarantee if you interview all 5 of us that were in that car that night, we all fucking feel bad about that right now. But at the time, it was pretty goddamn funny.
Just in case people didn't know how the podcast works, is we get together usually 2 times a week and just have a awesome conversation. And 2 days ago, we had a conversation where you revealed something, and it's kind of been haunting me, Joey.
Right. In 1983, on the way to get a hot dog in the city after the clubs closed, an opportunity arose itself, and we mugged a hooker. And we kidnapped her now that we really think about it over the state line, and we lit her wig on fire and her dress on fire, and we got her for $60. And it was something I did, and it was like a joke. I had forgotten about it.
Yeah.
And I still talk to these guys on the phone, and you know, we never really mentioned it. It was something that, and we got to talking about it on the podcast. And I left here hysterical because while I was telling the story, I couldn't see. I looked over and I seen Felicia holding her head, so I knew that it was something. So what is it? What did you think about it? I mean,
Well, first of all, I want to tell you that, like, I told a bunch of my girlfriends, I'm like, you know, Joey said this thing, and I feel a little uncomfortable and embarrassed that I laugh because this poor woman, you know, they kidnapped her, and then, you know, she was trying to defend herself, and they snatched the wig off her head, and she was trying to slice at him with a a straight razor. And every one of my girlfriends, you know what the first thing they said to me was? They took her wig. You know what I mean? Like that's where women are like, oh, they took the wig.
we fucking, and the wig, it's not like we ripped the wig off. I went to grab her because she went to slice with the knife, and that's when I grabbed her by the head and the wig fell off. I'm holding on to this fucking dead skunk in my hand that smelled horrifically, by the way. It smelled like fucking hairspray and sperm and God knows what else was in that hat.
Joey.
I mean,
Joey. No.
You know,
And so
it's not so bad.
It's just not right,
It's
Joey.
not so bad. I'm mugging the hooker and all that. The worst thing about it is that we burnt the bitch's wig and left her in a cemetery in northern New Jersey. Like, that's the worst thing. That I thought about that. Like, she had to get home in the winter. She probably had no money.
I know.
Hey, listen, you know.
That's that I struggle with that, Joey. This is I know. Stop laughing. This is why I struggle with it, Joey. Because as a woman, I find that pretty fucking horrific, and I laughed when we talked about it. Stop it, Joey. You fucking stop it. Because I was like, you know, I was just so in shock, you know, like you told stories about kidnapping the drug dealer. And it's like, fuck it, he's a drug dealer. Fuck him, kidnap him. You know what I mean? That was, you paid the price. But then I thought about, you know, the podcast is about second chances. And it was really a struggle for me to kind of weigh, you know, who you are as a person now against this. Honestly, it's kind of a horrific story, Joey. And I thought, you know, if we're all the time up on the podcast saying, oh, second chances, and, you know, people do shit in their lives, and then, you know, we've all changed and we learned from our past. But then I thought, well, maybe it's bullshit on me that I kind of, I don't want to say judged you on it, but I was kind of like, eeks, you know what I mean? And then I thought maybe I shouldn't, because I do all the technical stuff, maybe I shouldn't put it on the podcast. Maybe you will get letters. And, but then I realized, you know, you're a different person now. I see how you are to me as a friend. I see how you are with your wife. I see how you are with the ladies. And it was kind of hard to see you as that person. You know what I mean? Even though I know you had a pretty crazy life, but to see that, it's been an interesting thing to go through. And I know, and I feel like I kind of wanted to trap you in a corner and have you say remorse in some kind of way. And then I'm like, well, that's not for me to make you say that, you know. But I feel bad for the lady.
Oh no, I feel bad for her now, and I feel bad about the situation. You know, one thing we do have here in beauty business is a second chance. But the beauty of it was that, you know, my state of mind at the time, and I tried to explain it the other day, and I really couldn't focus on it. My state of mind at the time was you're 18, you're 19, you get in the car. I mean, and like I said, it wasn't like we got in the car with the intention of going over there and mugging a hooker.
Stop laughing.
You know what I'm saying? It was with the intention of going over there just to get something to eat. And the kid went and got a blowjob, and the next thing you know, the car's rocking, and he's yelling and screaming, and we just get in the car, and, you know, it just happened, and it was surreal. I can't believe we even got through the tunnel with the chick crooked in the car.
Stop it.
She's in the car sideways yelling, ow, ow.
Stop it.
You know, and,
Yeah.
it's fucking hilarious if you look at it from that angle. And you know how cool I am with ladies, you know that. And it was crazy because I thought about this story, and I thought about my hardships with women, like any problems I had had over the years, you know. And I thought about like the 5th or 6th grade, Lucy Snorbush was this hot girl I liked, and we're playing kickball. And you could either like trip people, like when the ball comes in, you could like push them or something. And I pushed a little too heavy, and she hurt her knee, you know. And we still became friends, and I felt really guilty about that. I thought about that story, how still till today, I think of Lucy Snorbush that I tripped her, you know. And I don't really know. I think we bumped into each other, and she fell down. I mean, it was a weird story, and we were friends after that. I mean, but I tripped on that story after I told you the hooker story because I didn't know where that was coming from. I don't know in a way if you understand where I'm coming, but no, I felt guilty. And that's it. I mean, it's a very funny story, and some viewers are going to find it funny because deep down inside, that's a great, you know, you mug the fucking hooker. Some people mug a transvestite. Hey, you know what, though? I'm going to tell you what happened in the contrast to that. And some people know about the story, and some people don't. Maybe a year later, we used to mug fags on Boulevard East, right? We used to go fag bagging on Boulevard East. And we go down there, and this is when it was really creepy. This is 82 and 83, and it was really creepy. And these guys would come up that were business people, and we were kids. And they come up to us. And how we knew about fag bagging was we used to play basketball on Hudson County Park. And cars would pull over. And we were young in the 8th grade, and they would say, hey, you guys want to go for a ride? And I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? So as the legend grew, look at Felicia's face.
I'm like, and you're going to top off that story with an even worse story.
No. So we were going down there, and we would like go down there, and like I had this guy Gerard that was the bait, and he was really good looking. And then some guy would say, "I want to suck your dick," and he'd take him into Hudson County Park, and then we just not beat him up. We go, "Give me your money," and they give us $50 or $40, and we did that a couple times. And then it became like a sport. Like everybody in that area was fag bagging at night. And they would like, I mean, I had friends that were professionals. Dickie Thomas and those guys would take fags to their house. And one time they mugged the piano player of Lawrence Welk. They mugged him. And this is fucking nuts.
The story just gets worse and worse, Joey.
So one night, I had the Knicks. I had bet the Knicks getting the 8.5, and they lost by 8. And I was traumatized. Again, I had to go to the fucking mattresses because it was a buddy of mine that was a bookie. And I didn't know what to do, so I called my friend Gerard Bazzacco. And I go, Gerard, you want to meet me down there? And Gerard's like, I'm with my girlfriend tonight. So in the back of my mind, I was running every day. I was hitting the bag. I was about 19. I was in good shape. I said, fuck it. I just go down there and fag bag on my own, right? So I go down there in the corner, and sure enough, a guy pulls up, and he goes, you know, what are you doing, young man? I'm like, oh, nothing. It's a beautiful night to be alive. And he's like, do you want to take a ride or whatever? He said to me. And I go, no, I'd rather just hang out. He goes, okay, if you want to go for a walk. I go, we can go for a walk to the park. And he just broke down. He goes, how much to have sex? And I'm like, $100 or something. So we were walking towards the park, and I was walking on the inside towards Suicide Bridge. And I turned around, and I threw a punch at this motherfucker with everything I had. He took the punch to the face and just looked at me. And I knew I was in trouble because I was a strong kid. I knew that even if I didn't mug him, I could get him off me. This guy came back and proceeded to give me the biggest fucking beating of my life. I mean, he punched. He was like an aerobic faggot with like a little warm-up suit, and he had cowboy boots on. He beat the fuck out of me.
Good.
And he kept going into the street and waving cops down. He kept
Yeah.
waving cops down, and he would come back and punch the shit out of me again. This guy was like a professional boxer.
Right.
I mean, he lumped me the fuck up. And then he came over to me one time. He goes, you like doing this? Now I'm going to call the police on you. And I hit him in the throat. And he started like coughing, and I ran the fuck out of there, and I never went to Boulevard East again. I got the shit kicked out of me. And Boulevard East had the best fucking lemonade in the world. Ernie was down. He was 400 pounds, and he had 2 missing fingers because he'd make the lemonade fresh, and he'd shake. So we call him Shaker because he'd shake the lemonade, and I
Right.
never even went back down there for a lemonade. That's the beating that fucking guy threw on me. So karma's a motherfucker.
Karma is a motherfucker.
Karma's a motherfucker.
Yeah.
I'm a student of karma. I know all about. I told you, I kidnapped that dude. What did I get? 18,000. You know what my attorney bill was? 18,500. Don't tell me about fucking karma. I paid for it dearly. You know, I don't know how I'm gonna repay the wig. Burning the wig
Gee.
is something that's deep. That's deep.
Karma
when you
is a
burn a witch is
motherfucker.
deep.
Yeah.
And a lot of when you burn a bitch's wig, and a lot of people don't understand karma. I'm living proof about karma. Karma scares the shit out of me. Fuck Johnny the bookmaker.
Karma should scare the
Fuck
shit
this
out
guy.
of you.
Fuck that guy. Karma is the real motherfucker in this.
Right.
And every time karma bites you in the ass, if you're a real man, you know exactly what it is. So nothing is taboo in this
taboo.
podcast. We're not hiding nothing. We're not celebrities talking about fucking some other guy hanging out with some other celebrities. We're just people. And this is how we want to connect with you guys, as people. You know?
Right.
Feel free to email us. Hit it, Felicia.
You can email us at beautyandthebeastpodcast@gmail.com. We would love to hear from you, and we would love to hear your thoughts. Maybe I'm being too preachy on the subject. I don't necessarily think so, but maybe I am. And we do read all the emails, and Joey sends back a lot of emails. I do myself, and if you want to send us a link, someone sent us a link last week for Bruce Lee, and we both watched it and had a great conversation about that for this week's podcast. And so we just really appreciate it. And by the way, I appreciate your honesty, Joey, and I appreciate that when I'm kind of up in your grill a little bit about it, that you don't back down, and I like that about you. And I know that that you certainly are a different person now. And the thing is, we're all on our journey. We're all on our journey.
Next week, I'm going to tell you the story when I mugged the stripper against the clock, because I had to mug her before 1 a.m. because Dante closed, the drug dealer. So we'll tell you that
Great.
interesting story. I'll put her fucking mind a tizzy all week again.
Oh, shit.
Don't forget AdamandEveSexToys.com, AdamandEve.com. Check out the catalog. They got great stuff in there. Felicia's going to try some stuff out and let you people know what's cracking.
Oh, I should. Absolutely.
That's right. Give them a kiss, Felicia. These people love you. Have a great week. I love you. Stay black.